Now I'm going to embark on cleaning out the Valley of Death, and while I was in there, I might as well actually give the DeLorean its full sort of service. So I've got a few bits and pieces. I've got some HT leads, which I managed to get. These actually are from a Volvo. This is the package that they came in just here, so you can see these ones and the code as well. If I have a look at the top, just so people might be able to use this in the future. 6407. They were pretty easy to get hold of. Once you know the code, it's fairly easy to get hold of the parts. And I think it was I'll try and link on to this video to the actual site as well, because it was a very, very useful one. I mean, they cost about 50 quid in total. I managed to get an oil filter as well, which you can see on that one again is coded up as OC460. This is basically the replacement part, which is pretty good. It's got one of the a valve to stop it from draining back, which is really, really useful. So HT leads, some anti-seize aluminium graphite anti-seize compound, because when I put these bolts back in, which I do need some extra bolts, but once I put some bolts back in, I don't want them having a problem coming out again. New belt, which is going to be very useful because that's for the alternator and etc. New spark plugs as well, which these particular ones are that code just there. We can see that actually. There we go. A new cap and rotor, and also a seal set. Now this seal set was really good, because I know that normally the DeLorean's one is very expensive, but again this is a Volvo version of it, which is exactly the same PRV engine, so you don't have to worry about that one at all. So most of these parts have been sort of sourced as sort of cross-reference from the Volvos and etc., rather than going to DeLorean Europe or something like that. Although they are very, very good, they tend to be a little bit more expensive. So all this bits and pieces, what I'm going to do is hopefully document going into the Valley of Death, stripping it down. It'll be the first time I've ever done anything like this, so I'm both excited and a bit of trepidation. It's a nice day out there. Spring is in the air. Let's get the DeLorean ready to get out on the roads and be better than ever before. This is the engine as we start. Pretty good nick, really, to be honest with you. What we'll be doing is moving the filter here, most of the manifold here, and getting down into the Valley of Death down in there. I'm going to also have to shift this out of the way, and I don't know if you can see this down here. I might get a bit of light on it, but also need to get this belt, which is a little bit frayed. I don't know if you can see that in the centre of the picture there. That's a little bit frayed. That needs to come off as well, but that'll be all part of it. But yeah, this is in quite good nick, really. We're going to be also taking out the fuel injection section just here. The cold start injector as well. Cold start valve, sorry, on here. So the engine will be slowly stripped down. Get some pictures of this, and hopefully a few more videos of everything as it goes, step by step. Disconnected quite a few bits and pieces. We've disconnected the idle speed motor that used to be down here. That's been connected, and you can see the black connector there for the idle speed motor. Also got rid of the, well, disconnected this one, which is the cold start valve, and also the control pressure regulator has also been disconnected here. Airbox is off. And we've disconnected some of the wires. You can see just here this has been unconnected there, the white connector. Most importantly though, the W pipe is now free. It looks as though this has just been put on using silicone, which I've actually got a proper seal for that. You can see we've got a little bit of a seal left on that one, but that's a bit of a mess. So we've now got right into the engine, and you can see that we've got a few deposits, and it's looking a little bit manky in there, but anyway. So far so good. We've got most of the bits and pieces out. I'm just about to remove the actual injection unit just here. So this hopefully should all lift out, and we should at that point be able to see, well, the rest of the manifold, and then do the next stage. But yeah, quite an exciting part of the disassembly. So we've got the mixture unit out, and as you can see we've got the manifold poking up now out, and just a couple more, well, 4 more bolts. These bolts are looking a little bit manky down there, so I've covered them in loads and loads of lubricant, antifreeze, bolt release, so hopefully that will have a bit of a difference. We've got this, what they call, I think, the Piper pane, which I think is going to be a real pain in the bugger to get in, and the cold start valve in there as well. So we should be able to remove this hopefully and expose the valley in a moment. Looking at taking the manifold out, well, I wanted to clean out the Valley of Death. Well, looks like I'm going to have to clean it out. This looks Well, it looks bad. I must admit my heart sinks because this is a mess in here, absolute mess. It seems to be a mixture of coolant, oil. You can see that reflected down there. I don't know how long it's been going, if it's rotted it down. There's so much sludge in here, it's really difficult to tell. This is like the worst thing that I could find after doing this. Yeah, not very pleased. Is that a case of it's knackered? I don't know. You can put a screwdriver or something into here and you can find that there's not really any holes in these bits, but these smaller bits at the back, it seems as though they seem to go down a long way, and I'm not even sure if that's supposed to be like that. A little bit more research, I think. Yeah, I'm not happy at this moment in time. Okay, then let's go over what we've got here. After moving the manifold, and if you looked at the other video, if I've uploaded it, if I can bear to look at it, you can see that, well, these were absolutely filled with coolant and oily sort of mix. Mainly, I think, coolant and dirt. I mean, this looked like a mud bath, completely like a mud bath. I've never seen anything like it, considering the rest of the car is in pretty good nick. It almost looked as if somebody had, I don't know, poured a load of liquid mud in here. But, well, you can imagine my heart did sink rather when first I saw it, because I thought, well, maybe there's going to be some sort of rot in the actual block. But I think, and obviously I'm going to need to do a bit more investigation first, but I think it's pretty okay. You know, it doesn't seem to be that bad. It's just whereabouts is it coming from? I mean, there's a little bit of sort of staining to one side. You can see it below there. It seems like it's dribbled down a bit. I don't know enough about these things to sort of say. My suspicion is it's got something more to do with the water pump, because I think it's leaking out the water pump. It has been playing up. The water pump has been making a pretty bad noise in the past. Hasn't recently, but you know, it could be something down here in the water pump, or it might be leaking out. No obvious areas where it's leaking, but needless to say, I'm going to have to do a bit more investigation, which means this job has suddenly become a lot more time consuming. All of this is going to come out. Probably have to take the water pump out as well, check to see where we're losing coolant into here, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't have any holes actually in the block, because if that's the case, well, this engine could be toast. I don't even want to think about what that means. Other than that, it's strange, because the MOT, it came back with literally no problems at all, flying colours. So if there was any problems with the head gaskets, or if there was anything getting into, because there's certainly no residue in any of the coolant, and I've not noticed any problems with oil, it's not been overheating. So I don't know, it could just be that this car just does not want to be repaired. It's just want to throw more shit at me every single time. But we'll see. Any sort of ideas from you guys? Be very helpful. Well, let's have a little bit of an update here, because we've got, well, the water pump's out for a start. Taken that out, and I've managed to clear out most of the gunge and muck. I mean, yeah, it's a work in progress, but you can see, actually, I think I've been relatively lucky. I mean, we can, if I bring the light down in here, you can possibly see down into there, and at the moment, okay, yeah, a bit of cleaning still to do. It looks to be in pretty good nick. I mean, those holes go down a fair way, but they don't seem to be filled with loads of stuff that they shouldn't have in, and it doesn't look like they've corroded down any further than they should do, which is really quite lucky, I think. Anyway, they seem to be quite good. What I've got to do is I need to clean up all these bits and pieces, because there's quite a lot of mess in here. Clean it down, then it's a decision if I'm going to paint. That's going to be a bit of a decision. I'm going to probably throw it open to the forum and see what people say. I personally, at this point, am thinking possibly not. Give it a good clean, it'll be able to breathe easily, and hopefully we might be able to get it all back together again, and it should run a lot better. It is going to be important to try and find out where that leak has come from. I don't think, as I said before, I don't think it is from around here, where the head gasket comes in. I said I don't think anyway. I think it was actually from one of the connectors that were back here on the water pump. The water pump is over here, and as you can see, those rubbers are quite old, especially where it connected down the bottom here. Let's just turn that around a bit. That was quite corroded at the bottom, so I think that's where our biggest problem has been. The actual water pump itself, because I was thinking I was going to have to change this, but I don't think, I mean, it seems there's no groaning there in any of the bearings, so I don't think I'm going to need to replace that. That looks pretty good as well. There is a couple of spaces on here on the line pipe that look as though they could be a bit suspect. Maybe these have been weeping slightly, and that's not helped the situation, so they need to be tightened, checked, and I think I've got one of these sensors for a start, which was accidentally sent, and I definitely think this pipe that goes through the valley, that definitely needs a bit of a replacement as well. Bit of a clean generally, get them looking a little bit better, yeah, making it look a hell of a lot better. I'll try and give this water pump a clean up as well. I know a lot of people will probably say you should really think about actually getting a new one, but if it's working okay and it can save me a bit, it might be a good idea at the moment to just focus on keeping this one alive.